Hey, 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 what's going on, everybody? Dominique here, and we are live. It is Wednesday, excuse my voice. I've been using a whole lot of it today, but we're going to have some fun tonight. If you are joining us, I would love to know where you're joining us from. If you want to throw that in the chat, that would be great. And we're going to hop right into everything tonight. I don't know that there's a need to delay. I think everybody knows what's going on here. How we normally roll for the last, I guess, 3 Wednesdays or so. We've been packing it in, hopefully giving you some really good value in regards to how things work in financial services, specifically how to get in the industry. And once you're in, how to have impact. So, I think a lot of people want to have impact, right? I think that's kind of the goal. It's like, what are we doing if we're not, helping people or whatnot? So, yeah, I would love to know where you're listening from. If you're on LinkedIn, we're going to get into some stuff today. Today, I'm going to crack open the toolkit. The CFP's toolkit is what I'm kind of calling this. Is a framework that I came up with a little bit ago, and it has to do with 3 really important words that we'll get into in just a second. But from a housekeeping standpoint, if you can like this, share it, depending on the platform you're in or on, that will depend on the type of things you can do. But excuse me, if you like and share it, I would really appreciate that. So here's why you want to stay put. I'm going to teach something tonight that is not in any university curriculum or CFP program that I know of. So I am going to really, like I said, open up the toolkit. I'm going to be sharing some tools that I think are going to be really one of those things where you're like, man, I never knew it was like that. I never knew that I needed to be considering those particular things. And that's okay, because like I said, some of this stuff is not taught in the classroom. So just if you are new, my name's Dominique Henderson. I create a lot of content for financial professionals, existing and aspiring, and I have my own registered investment advisory firm where I help clients protect their wealth. And I love to share what I know to help the up-and-coming aspiring financial professional, career changer, or existing financial professional become, if you will, this superstar financial professional where you're helping people and you're having impact. So that's the reason why we're here. So in the last 2 Wednesdays, we've talked about this framework that I will not pull up today. I got my iPad over there charging, but I'm going to go through the 7 things or 7 phases to that will allow you to enter the industry and have impact that a lot of people don't talk about. But we talked about understanding your why. That was last week. And understanding your why is so important. Like, the reason why you get into this industry and who you're going to help, the impact that you want to have with them, the experience you want your particular clients to be having when they walk away from working with you, the conversations they're having with their family and their coworkers and all these different people as a result of interacting with you. That's important. And that starts with your why. If you don't know that, then you need to do some work. The next thing we're going to talk about, or the next step in it, that's step 1. Step 2 is understanding the why, who, how formula. And I think I might call this something else because that's just that's kind of a long thing, but I think it's really the CFP's toolkit. Maybe even the financial professionals toolkit. But I think from a broad standpoint, as a CFP that is practicing using these tools that I'm about to show you in a little bit, I think you'll get where I'm going with that. So that's what we're covering tonight. So you got to understand your why, your who, and your how. What I would say is your why inevitably leads you to a who, which inevitably leads you to the how. You're supposed to do something. We all learn by copying people and imitating people. So that's not a bad thing. But a lot of financial professionals just don't know where to start when it comes to that. The next thing you need to do, and we talked about this in week 1, 2 weeks ago, which was the understanding the financial advice continuum. So people are going to need financial services, but they're going to enter at different points. This is all about making sure that when people enter in a certain, let's say, reason, like paying off debt, paying off student loans, wanting to buy their first house, wanting to learn how to invest, wanting to have a comprehensive financial plan, wanting to save on taxes, or all of the above, how do you as a financial professional interact with them? So that is understanding the financial advice continuum. Hey, Helen, thank you for joining. Is this about investing smart? This particular live will not necessarily contain content on investing smart. I do things like that. You just have to want to check out my website. So go to domhendersonsr.com. You can go to the pinned comment, the comment right above yours, and just take off the live stream page and look at the rest of the stuff, and you'll find what you need. But thank you for joining us. And then the next thing you need to do, that's number 3. Number 4, and we'll talk about this next week, is to develop champ skills. Dominique, what are champ skills? And for those that have been here for the last couple of weeks, you know, it's your capacity to learn has to be endless. You have to have high accuracy to detail with very little need for supervision. You have to have the ability to collaborate. You have to have a mastery of the firm's workflow. And you also have to pursue professional development. And sometimes it looks like professional designations like the CFP or the CHFC or whatever. So that is developing champ skills. Now, that will get you in the industry, but that won't necessarily help you have impact. So at that point, you got to find your tribe. You got to find your peeps. That is super important. Otherwise, and we're going to talk about this a little bit tonight, but you can't go alone at everything. Like, there's no real benefit from trying to do everything on your own. Nobody really does. Nobody really pulls themselves up by their bootstraps. I don't know where that saying came from, but you're going to need a tribe. After you find your tribe, then you're going to develop your expertise, and then you're going to serve at the highest level. So those are the 7 things that we'll be talking about in weeks to come and have been talking about, okay? So today I want to pull up a framework, and it's not that you guys said anything, but I felt bad for you guys trying to look at my chicken scratch. So I'm going to do you one solid tonight. And by the way, if you're in the chat, and let me pull that up. I don't even have the chat up. I had LinkedIn up, but give me just a second here. Yeah. So if you're in the chat and you have questions, we will get to those eventually tonight. And so give me a second. Let me transition. I got some stuff for you. All right. Okay, so there we go. Now we got the whiteboard up. Okay, so kind of the whiteboard. The way I've organized this CFP toolkit type of thing is to think about this from the framework of you have questions that you ask because questions cause you to clarify. And when you're clear about something, you can figure out what direction to move forward in, okay? Then you have principles. Principles are going to challenge you to consider things, right? So let's use a really easy example that everybody knows about, which is the principle of gravity, the law of gravity. If I jump off a very high building, my weight is going to cause me to go through the air because my weight is heavier, that mass is heavier than the air around me, and then I'm going to go down. That's just what it is. So knowing the law of gravity is going to challenge me to consider whether or not if I want to jump off a building or something like that, or jump up from a high height. So principles cause you or challenge you to consider. And then you have actions. Actions cause you to change, right? You think about what we continually do, our habits, that's what we are. So when you think about the CFP's toolkit that I'm going to show you, this why, who, how, then we can start to think about, okay, what are the questions that when we're considering the topic of why do we get into the industry? What are we trying to accomplish? Who are we trying to help? All that kind of stuff. What are the questions we need to be asking? What are the questions you should be asking? What are the principles that you need to be challenging yourself to consider? And then what are the actions you need to be taking? And so that's the framework we're going to use for every part of this toolkit. The why we get into the industry, the who that we target when it comes to furthering our studies and our experience and our education and all this other kind of stuff, and then the how we actually do it. Like, I know everybody likes to get to the how first, but you got to do this. You got to set yourself up for success, not failure. And a lot of people go too fast, and they go directly to things like, oh, I want to enroll in CFP classes. And CFP classes are not a bad thing. It's just, have you figured out all the other stuff before you start enrolling in classes? So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, the first thing we need to do, and we're going to move through this fairly quickly because I want to get you guys to some Q&A possibly, especially if you guys are listening. So, or watching, sitting with us. The first thing is, what do I love to do? This is your why. What do I love to do? Think about why financial services versus anything else, especially your career changes. If you are out there and you're a career changer and you're thinking about this as a career, what do you love about it? Like, what excites you when you think about all the different things that are that you've seen, that you've heard of? What do you love about it? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. And it's going to bring some clarity, hopefully, around it. Hey, look, no shame. It might be something like, I want to make more money. I would love to be out of the financial situation I'm currently in. And I know that financial advisors, financial planners, financial professionals make more money than where I'm currently at. That could be fine. But at the end of the day, I think you're going to need something a little bit more solid than that, because that will not get you through the tough times. That will not get you through when you're trying to build a business, when you're studying for tests, when you're failing exams, when you can't find the right people, all that kind of stuff. So what do you love about this? What do you love to do? Is it a personal story of maybe accomplishing a goal, a specific financial goal, like getting out of debt or paying off your student loan or any of that kind of stuff? Maybe that might be a good backdrop, or what they kind of call origin story for you to begin to pursue this path. So whatever yours is, think about it, because you need to know that. The second thing is going to be, how good are you at this thing? Like, if you got out of student loan debt, or you paid off a big credit card bill or something, like, what tools did you use? How fast did you do it as compared to people that did the same thing with similar income or similar amounts to pay off? How good are you at it? Now, I'll be very honest here. I've talked to a lot of career changers, and the truth is, you're probably not that good at this point. You need a lot of help. So on a scale of 1 to 10, which is the reason why we're using that 10 there, where are you? Like, you probably need to put in your 10,000 hours, like Malcolm Gladwell talks about in Outliers. You probably need a lot of additional knowledge and experience and exposure to whatever you're lacking when it comes to becoming a financial professional. Okay, making sense? Now, the third thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to invest in yourself. Got to do this. This is super important. I think a lot of people at this point that I've talked to have not considered what it may take to get them to the next level, as far as their deficit on time and experience in the game, like their time in the game. Like, what is it going to take you to get from the level you're at right now and moving towards the next step? Usually that's going to take time and money, and you got to be willing to invest in yourself. That's the action you're going to have to take. There is going to be very limited things that you can do to excel and ascend as a financial professional with, more expertise and more value to provide. Therefore, you're able to charge more for your services and gain more clients. It's going to be hard to do that if you have not first invested in yourself. I was listening to a mentor the other day, and they were saying how just about everything that goes up has to start going down first. Like a seed goes into the ground, dies, develops a root system, then you see stuff pop through the ground. You're going to be no different than that, where you're going to have to dig down, hunker down, learn some things, kind of stay back in the cut a little bit while you learn, invest in yourself before you can pop through, the surface of the soil with, all the stuff that you know. It's just going to be really difficult for you to do that unless you got some type of head start, or you're some type of girl or boy genius, or I don't know. Maybe you got one of those things going on. Okay, so what I would say then is after that we move to, so that's your why, like questions to ask, principles that will challenge you to consider some things, and then some actions to take. So that's your why. Like you need to spend some time on that first top line there that you should be seeing. Hopefully you're seeing that. I'm getting mixed reviews on the. Actually, if somebody could tell me if you're watching, just give me a thumbs up or not if you're still able to see my graphic with the why, who, and how. The platform that I'm on is showing that it is not there, but it could just be in a delay or something like that. Okay, let's keep it moving. All right, so what's the thing I need to do now? Okay, now you're gonna start to hone in. Like you got your why down. Now you need to start thinking about people, highlighting, targeting, and kind of finding people that are doing what you think you want to do. You might not know all the way. That's why I say think you know what you want to do. I pivoted a lot in the industry since the time I've been in. So there's no shame there. It's just the reality that you may start off with, a propensity towards insurance, which is very common in this industry. And then as you're doing it, clients start asking you questions. You start to get into some situations, some scenarios where maybe you feel like you're not equipped to handle everything that people are asking you. You want to go digging deeper from a more comprehensive standpoint. And maybe you want to do something like, certified financial planner or chartered financial counselor, things like that. So that's okay. But here's my point. Find somebody that is doing what you are doing or doing what you want to do. And then what you're going to start to do is you're going to start looking around them. And you're going to ask the question, is this person, whether they're near to me or far from me, how can I begin to network with them? What can I do? Like first you need to target them, and then you need to start thinking about ways that you can get in front of them, because it's inevitable that you got to get into a community. You got to get, you got to start going to conferences. You might have to hang out in a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or all those different avenues where you meet people that are doing the thing that you want to do. It's going to be incredibly hard that without a community that you do this. And I've kind of already iterated that, but in order to connect and to collaborate, you're going to have to cooperate. Okay. In order to connect and collaborate, you're going to have to cooperate. Even the Bible says this. So I have to give you guys a Bible verse, right? So in Proverbs 15:22, it says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they shall succeed. So if you're thinking about, you got this plan that you're trying to work, you're trying to do it all on your own, you don't have any mentorship, any coaching, any tribe, it's going to be harder for you to succeed, if you succeed at all. So that's where the community comes in. Definitely leverage that. There's been so many stories of people that I've worked with that have used, like the FPA externship or the BLX internship or NAPFA or XYPN or any of these communities where there's a lot of people just like you, financial nerds, that are hanging out. And you definitely want to take advantage of that. Okay. Now, what's after that, Dominique? Got to leave your comfort zone. Got to leave the land of familiar. All the stuff that's easy to you, all the things that make you, all the things that you are thinking of that may make you feel a little awkward in putting yourself out there. That's what you're going to have to do. Typically. There's no avoiding it. There's absolutely no avoiding doing the hard things. It is what it is. And it's okay though. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting a little dirty, a little gritty, and having to do some of the hard stuff. Like, for instance, I've talked to so many people that are like, hey, Dom, I've tried to get this job at XYZ firm, and, I just kind of feel like I'm going through the motions. I don't even know if they've gotten my resume, yada, 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 right? You know the song and dance. You might have even been one of those ones that DM me that kind of stuff. No, you're watching. You're definitely doing what I'm saying. I'm just playing with you. You do the good things. But what I would say is, why not, instead of just send a electronic version of your resume or something like that? Why don't you do this? Why don't, over a period of 30 to 90 days, target somebody that is active on social media, follow them, connect with them on a platform like LinkedIn, which is probably one of the easiest ones. Take a look at their post, see what they're posting, engage on their post, thoughtfully comment on their post, ask questions, then slide into their DM over time with maybe not just a text message, but possibly a Loom video introducing who you are, asking them very directly for a little bit of their time with a really specific ask, right? So something like this. Hey there, this is Dominique, whatever their name is. I'm just going to use somebody's name because I got to have to say somebody's name when I'm doing this. Hey there, Bob, this is Dominique. I really appreciate you connecting with me on LinkedIn, and I really loved your last post about XYZ. I actually put in a comment of, da-da-da-da-da. If you don't mind, I would really appreciate if you could lend me 15 to 20 minutes of your time, maybe for virtual coffee. I have some specific questions to ask you about the firm you work for. I see that you guys work with, retirees or whatever, or pre-retirees. And I am wanting to get into the field of financial services, and I have some very specific questions about how you serve them and some of the tools you use to help them get financial freedom or something like that. That could be a 30 to 60 second introduction. And now Bob may not answer me back, but if you do that over a period of time with people like Bob, you will eventually get somebody to answer you back. And that is a better way of you trying to get in touch with somebody that you think may be able to help you on your journey or take you to the next level, and getting out of your comfort zone with a tool or a method that will actually work and get their attention. Okay. But again, don't spam them all with all these just direct messages, Loom video requests, without first following them and engaging in the content they produce. I'll say this as a content creator and a content consumer. I create content for people to consume. I try to create valuable content for people to consume. So it is appreciated when I know that what I'm putting out there for you to consume is actually working for you. So nobody's creating content that they don't want people to consume. So just think about that when you flip through a post of somebody that you value and don't like it or don't comment on it or something like that. You definitely don't want to do this with that person, right? You want to, kind of reciprocate. All right. So that handles your why, and that handles your who. Everybody tracking with me? We good? Thumbs up in the comments, heart signs, emojis, whatever platform you're on. Okay. So with your how, this is going to take the most time, typically, because you're learning typically a new skill or a new set of skills, and you're going to have to go through several iterations to kind of perfect this. I spent 6 years at an RIA, basically that whole time learning how to trade municipal bonds, how to build investment portfolios that will cash flow, whether that be taxable income or tax-free or a mix thereof. Just several things, but it took a while for this to happen. And I got a lot of reps. This is over a 6-year period. So don't try to rush this part. It's like a stew, or I like to cook. So it's like risotto, right? You can't rush risotto. You have to put your broth in there, and then you got to put your pasta in there, and then you got to stir it, and you got to let it, like, the pasta soak up the broth, and then you got to keep it stirring, and then you got to put more broth in there, and then you got to put more pasta, and you just keep on rinse and repeat. And then 30 or 40 minutes later, you got some risotto. But you can't do it in 10 or 15 minutes. It just doesn't work that way. So keep that in mind when we go through the how, because I don't want you to be like, well, Dom said this, and you're just trying to check off the box. It doesn't work like that, okay? All right. Now the question you're going to ask is, how do they do it? Like, what is the thing that they do? How do they do it? Now, granted, you're going to have to, like, hopefully you've gotten in with them. You've added them to your network. Maybe you've had a conversation and you've thoughtfully thought about what questions you would ask them if you got into a dialogue, so that if that does happen, you're not wasting their time and you're not wasting your time. Because the how they do it, that's good. That's a really good question. And some of this stuff you can observe from afar. And with the power of the internet, you can probably get a lot of this stuff. But there's nothing like people like kind of breaking it down for you. So this part of it, the question to ask is, how do they do it? Is really like a macro question, but there's probably going to be like a lot of little, micro questions underneath that. A lot of little bullet points and subtopics. Like, how do they do it? Like, Dom, why do you leverage video so much versus blog? Or why did you do a podcast versus blog? Like, was there a thought process behind the type of people you were trying to work with, or yada, 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 that kind of stuff. So you get my point there. All right. Now, you're going to be getting a lot of information, so you're going to have to organize your learning. Now, I've talked about this in several different videos, so just go on my channel and search for this stuff. But you got to find a system that works for you. You have to. There's no good in you putting all this work in, and when you try to recall it or remember it, you don't know where you put it. You don't know where it is. You don't know who told you it. You don't know when it happened. I mean, journaling is really good. That's a good start. You need to be journaling, but I've said this before. I've mentioned him before, but Tiago Forte, Tiago Forte, Forte, kind of like, like the music term, has an excellent framework with building a second brain. The book is good too, and it'll kind of give you a system to how to organize your information, if you will, in this knowledge age that we're in, so that you can access things when you need them. Like my phone is one of those extensions of myself where I can get to things that I need. So all I'm saying is you're going to have to do that. When you're doing this studying of things, I remember when I was in grad school, I started to organize a system to kind of retain some of the things that I was learning in grad school, so I can be able to pull it back when I need it. So just think about that. That's the organize a learning system, or organize your learning into a system so that you can easily retrieve the things that you're doing. And one way I like to think about this inside the toolkit is your learning is very much like seeds, right? So there's a couple things you can do with seeds. Well, 3 specifically. You can eat them right away, because if you need nourishment right away, then you got to eat them. You can plant them, and then you can store them, right? So you kind of think about this. Some of your learning is going to be, I need to eat it right away. Like, I need this information right away to get to the next level. There's a lot of things that are like that. Some of the seeds you're going to plant and marinate for a later harvest, right? It's not going to be immediate. You can't eat it right now. You're going to have to wait a little while. And then some stuff, you're just going to kind of be like, that's a really good thought. I don't know what to do with that, but I need to keep that. And that's the seed that you store for some time way down the road. Okay? So hopefully that's helpful. But you got to organize your learning. And then last but not least, you have to integrate it into your routine. You got to find a way to build habits. I mean, I don't know any other way to say this except for, and granted, like, this is not overnight, and we've already kind of said that, but your goal is mastery. Your goal is unconscious competence of what you're doing. Like, you don't even think about it. Like, I've done so much video that I typically don't need a script, and I typically am not embarrassed or sweating or any of that kind of stuff, just because I've done so much of it. So the goal, and it's not to say I can't improve, it's just to say that I'm very comfortable in front of a camera. And so you're going to have to get to a point of mastery. And it's different than, and I want to say this carefully because I don't want to discourage you, But I want you to be aware. There we go. Awareness is good. Self-awareness is better. Okay. So what I'm saying is knowledge is great. But to me, knowledge is like the what of something, right? It's like getting all the facts. I'm accumulating facts, accumulating truths. The CFP curriculum has a lot of great stuff in there. You learn about estate planning and different ways to structure trust and investing and modern portfolio theory and efficient frontier. But how does that play with how a client engages you? Like, where do you apply all those different facts and knowledge that you just accumulated into, the what, into the how, and then even why you're doing those specific things in particular order? That is different than knowledge. That would be called understanding, my friend, and migrating towards wisdom. So that's where I'm talking about with mastery. You want to be on that path. Now, granted, you have to go through the town of knowledge in order to get to understanding or wisdom in the first place. But my point in saying that is your goal is not just pass the CFP exam. Yes, that may be your short-term goal. But more than that is I'm taking what the exam taught me or the things I learned in the curriculum to see how it fits into the broader context of financial planning, period. So that when people come to me, I'm not trying to recall a fact necessarily from the test, but I'm trying to apply and synthesize the information I know into a solution that's going to help them. They see that's totally different. That's on a different level. That's the mastery part. So as you're organizing your learning and integrating into these routines, your goal is to go towards mastery. And then ultimately, it's like you're so good, you do things so well, people can't ignore you. They just can't. It's impossible. You provide so much value. And so that's kind of where I think you want to be headed. If you want to screenshot this before I take it off the screen, go ahead and do that right now. Because we're going to transition here. See how I did that? That's like really cool. It's like a software that I use for this. So let's, if you have any questions, let's queue those up. And if not, I'm going to go eat some dinner. But I will hang around for just a second to answer some questions if you have any. Anything from the CFP Toolkit? Anything that you guys want to talk about? Or even from the past couple of weeks when we talked about knowing your why and or financial advice continuum. We will very soon be announcing, and some of you may have this. If you're on the email list, you've already had it. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do this. So don't forget to download that. That's free. Right there, domhendersonsr.com/cheat sheet. 5 mistakes to avoid when considering a career in financial services. That'll get you also on the mailing list so that you will know about, we got an upcoming challenge that you're going to really love. More details soon. Probably more details next week. It'll be in April, so you got plenty of time to prepare for it. But I'm going to teach you some of this stuff more in depth inside of a virtual workshop that you'll be able to attend. So that'll be real fun for you, hopefully. Any questions? No questions? I'm surprised. I'm just looking through comments on different platforms right now. Give me just a second here. And how many career changers do we have listening? I know that's typically a career changers versus existing financial professionals is really probably the context inside of that question that I would need to provide. Career changers or existing financial professionals? Who's the audience tonight? The other thing I might add, just to kind of put a pin in this, is when you are considering this as a career, and I would almost say, I would venture to say almost anything as a career. Um, Starting with your why is a very, very helpful exercise. It just helps you navigate some of the things that I think is inherent in all these switches when you're going to encounter obstacles. You're going to encounter um, imposter syndrome, the fear, the doubt. Did I make the right move? All that kind of stuff is going to happen. Like, it's inevitable. I don't think there's not too many people, including myself, that have gone through a career change or entering an industry that has um, the upside potential of financial services, being a financial professional. There's not a person that I know that has not gone through that. Now, here's the deal. Since there is so much upside potential, that's why it's so hard. It's worth it. Like, you get to sit in a really sacred seat to help people relieve stress, anxiety, fear in a lot of cases, and really move towards what they want out of life with using their money as a vehicle to get there. And that's a super, super important role, which is kind of the reason why it's so hard, which is also why your why, developing it, understanding it, is so important for you. That's why. Okay. Hey, Dominic. What are some examples of seeds of knowledge to invest in today that will pay off in the future? Great question. Seeds of knowledge. So obviously, designations are seeds. I think that is a category of seeds. Um, Last week I talked about it. You can go back on my YouTube channel. I don't remember the title of last week's video, but you can just look at what was uploaded last week around this time, because I've been uploading stuff weekly. But I talked about the 4 types of intelligence, and maybe that's a good thing to revisit right now. Right? So academic intelligence, I think it's table stakes. You have to have it. And these are like levels. So they layer upon each other in the progressive. So academic intelligence, and I'm not necessarily talking about books per se, like book knowledge, degrees, grades and stuff. It can be like that, but really it's just how elastic is your brain? How quickly do you catch on to stuff? Some people, have you heard the term, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks? You can't be like that. That means you have low academic intelligence. You can't be so rigid in your learning that you're not willing to learn other things. So that's a part of academic intelligence. Then there's emotional intelligence. Your ability to manage your own state, your own mood. Like, let me give you an example. This is not true, but this is an example of how this particular intelligence can be looked at as a seed that you would want to grow. So I have to do a live tonight, but I don't feel like doing it. But I get myself up to do it because I know that I have made a promise that I will come and do the live, and I want to keep my word to myself. So regardless of how I feel, I push through that and do the right thing. I keep my word to myself. I go live. I do all the things, yada, yada, yada. That's an example of emotional intelligence where I'm able to manage my mood, able to manage my emotional state. Even though I don't feel like doing something, I can push myself to do it. And you probably, if you've ever played sports, you probably had that kind of, grit and perseverance and stuff like that is, kind of synonymous with that emotional intelligence. The other one would be relational intelligence. So or social intelligence, relational, social. Like, when you're interacting with other people, how well do you do that? How skillfully, how masterfully can you persuade someone to your side? How able are you to, what is your ability to read the room in a situation? Detect body language and maybe shift the conversation And the example I used last week with this was the book by Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a perfect example of having high relational intelligence. And then the last one, which a lot of people don't talk about, but I do because I believe in it, is spiritual intelligence. Like that is the game changer. It's the one that is the wrapper around all of those. And it's what God has deposited in me as my unique ability that no one else can do, that only I can do. And I am specifically gifted to do that particular thing because I'm called to a set of people that want that particular thing. So those are the 4 intelligences that you can use to grow yourself. And I do look at those as seeds because like everybody starts from scratch with that kind of stuff. And you have to grow it intentionally. And they will pay off. If you hone those skills, they will definitely pay off. Absolutely. So great question. I hope that helps, man. Anything else? I'm having to refresh this page because I'm not getting the questions real time. So I apologize. Okay. Is that it? Is that all? Inside the CFP Toolkit. I tell you guys, all this stuff I incorporated on my journey, and it has worked for me very well. I guess depending on your view, in looking from the outside inside my life. But for anyone that's been following me a little while, you kind of know that I've had a large degree of success in this industry, and I'm super grateful for all of that. I'm extremely blessed. And all those things that I just showed you are the things that I employed along the way. That's why I call it Inside the CFP's Toolkit. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of this stuff is being taught in CFP curriculums or, classrooms and university curriculum and all that kind of stuff. But this is the stuff that you need in order to navigate through a very difficult industry. Difficult from a lot of standpoints. Competition is one of them, but regulation, compliance, just the whole nine. Okay. All right, everybody. We will see you back next week. We're going to talk about CHAMP skills, the acronym. What does that mean, Dominique? How do I develop them? What can I use them for? All that stuff. We're gonna go through that framework. We're gonna give you a opportunity to dive deep in that framework because I think it is the kind of stuff that gets you hired. I worked with a lot of people teaching them this stuff and able to get them into the industry from a career change, and a nice let's call it career job ahead of them with nice career job prospects. So I want to spend some time on that framework and next week, and then we'll see you then. Okay. So have a great evening. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. What else? Comment. All the things that you're supposed to do for these particular platforms. Okay. All right. See you. Take care. Bye-bye.